Physics is the way that we observe the universe around us, and what allows us to understand why things behave the way they do. It's a combination of reasoning and observation, and by combining the two, we can learn more more things that we couldn't observe, but that we can use with reasoning to learn even more things, and it just increases exponentially. Now, space-time is the most fundamental piece of existence, because what space-time is like it sounds, is a combination of space and time, but its properties are very volatile and unpredictable, and because it doesn't seem to interact with the same laws that our observable universe does, because it is what creates the observable universe. Now, existence itself. Why should anything exist? There doesn't seem to be any particular reason why, but why is a bad question. A better question is how does it exist, but we can't answer that either. All we can do is observe things and then understand that in order for our observation to hold any weight, we first must assume that the universe does exist. So the Big Bang. I was mentioning earlier how space-time has some volatile properties. Well, the Big Bang is what happens as a result of that chaos. There's an extraordinarily small chance that the Big Bang will occur, which is just a huge release of energy that creates space-time. And that is what expands into our universe that we live in today. Now, what is the universe? Universe is universe is everything that's been created from the Big Bang. The observable universe specifically is how much we can actually see time-wise. If you continue, since you can't travel faster than the speed of light, there is a barrier there. Now, strings are the smallest type of energy, and so strings are the building blocks of the entire universe, because strings are just how energy exists. What it is its vibration of space-time, and that's what strings are. Now, strings comprise things known as subatomic particles, which have their own unique properties. They have their own charges. Some of them are known as flavors, some of them are known as colors, but they have these things that you can observe about them and ways that they interact that affect the laws of physics that we experience, one of which is the Higgs boson creates something we like to call gravity. And any kind of particle that contains the Higgs boson has gravity, depending on how much of the Higgs it has in it, and interacts with other things that have gravity by bending the Higgs field. So the structure within an atom, there are if you look at the inside of the nucleus, it's comprised of neutrons and protons, which are made out of up and down quarks. 2 downs and an up makes a neutron, and 2 ups and a down makes a proton. The nucleus itself, however, is held together by something known as the strong nuclear force. And that's where an atomic bomb comes from, is when you split the inside of one of those. That's how much power there is that's required to hold these subatomic particles together, or to hold these quarks together. These, not quarks even. Electrons are the other component of atoms. Electrons are held by the weak force, which is why they can swap around from one atom to another. An extraordinarily long distance away from the nucleus comparatively, but they are somewhere around the atom at every given time. They're orbiting it. And an atom is really the smallest thing that we can interact with, sort of, because atoms comprise molecules, which are the things that make up everything else. So atoms are things such as there can be gold atoms, there are iron atoms, there are helium and oxygen atoms, that have all these different properties. Molecules, however, is what happens when you combine multiple atoms. If you combine a carbon atom with 2 oxygen atoms, you get CO2. That's a molecule, and that's one of the most abundant ones in the air. But there are a bunch of other kinds. There's ethyl alcohol, there is caffeine, and so on. Now, the Earth is a particularly interesting thing I'm going to talk about that occurred from the Big Bang, because at some point in time, a meteor that was made out of water or something hit it and left water on the Earth, and the debris formed the moon, and it gave rise to the perfect conditions for a certain type of molecule to be formed, and that molecule is called DNA. DNA is what makes life possible, and the reason for that is because of how DNA behaves and interacts with other strands of DNA, which is that it has a sort of equilibrium where it's the sort of form that it's easier to be in than to not be in. Which is why evolution occurs, which is that anything that's alive or anything that's made out of DNA will either survive or die. And if it survives, it'll reproduce and there will be more of it. Whereas if it dies, then its defects that caused it to die won't be passed on. Now there's a darker side to evolution, which is a sort of cannibalism if you think about it, though it is somewhat comical how it probably first came about. One cell accidentally consumed or was consumed by another cell because in an attempt to take in energy, it was so stupid that it ended up combining with another cell. Thus, the first form of sort of cannibalism or carnivorism came to be. Now, humanity is a culmination of all of billions of years of evolution of life on Earth. And in particular, we have something called the brain that most macroscopic life forms have, and a nervous system, which makes us a very unique type of life form, even capable of making slideshows. Now, morality is something that came about as a result of evolution. You see, like I said before, evolution spreads traits because if they have traits that don't cause it to reproduce and survive, then they won't spread at all. So if we all killed each other, then we wouldn't exist anymore. That's why people are good in general. So that's that's everything I've got to say on it. Now I just want to make sure that you understand everything. Science is entirely understood through observation and reasoning, and through that we can learn just about anything. Thank you.